Good morning, you're in the field with Neil. Today, I'm again out at Squam Farm. The violets are blooming, and lots of other stuff too. Trees are starting to leaf out, so we got some interesting things to show you on another walk with Kelly Omand. Oh, hello Kelly.
Well, hi Neil, how are you doing?
Doing all right. What do you have for us here today?
Mind if I take off my mask so people can see my face?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes, please.
We'll keep the social distance. I'm just taking a look at these shadbush. This is a tree, a small tree that's in the rose family, and the identification can be very difficult. All of the experts in botany tend to disagree somewhat on these different shadbush species. We have about 5 species on Nantucket, and I say about 5 because there is definitely a lot of contention about ID. And this is the one that we've been considering to be Amelanchier leavis, which is smooth shadbush. Although with changes in taxonomy that may not be true. There's an interesting thing with members of the rose family that some of them have a lot of ability to hybridize, and some of them have different chromosome numbers even within the same species. And then if they hybridize with another species, it gets even more confusing. And I definitely cannot explain the genetics.
Yeah, it sounds really in the weeds.
Right. But what's important to know if you're just interested in natural history and you like to come out on Nantucket is that right now, so early to mid-May is usually the blooming time for this species that we call smooth shadbush. It might be like Prince. We might have to give it a new name.
Oh.
I don't know. We'll find out.
This tree is a rock star.
Yeah, it's a rock star. So it's kind of hidden. The species diversity is kind of hidden. But this one's blooming now all over the island. You could go through Trot's Hills, you could go up to Head of the Plains, you come out to Squam Farm where we are right now. And it's just blooming in sort of clouds of white with these wine-colored leaves that when they first emerge, they're a reddish color. And as it matures over the season, the leaf characteristics change, and you'd come back out and you'd collect a sample later in the season. So you'd try to identify it based on what you see now when it's first blooming, and then come out and get a good look at the leaves when they're fully emerged. Because one of the characteristics is measuring the number of teeth on the first centimeter or so of leaf, and also looking at hairs. So it's very complicated.
Yeah, it sounds like an enigmatic tree, but I mean it's pretty. These nice white blooms, you know. Really,
yeah, it's a great tree, small tree. It's usually an understory tree, or here on Nantucket it'll be on the edges in particular, and it produces a fruit called a Juneberry because usually the fruit is ripening in June.
I've also heard them called service berries. Is that another common name?
I guess back in the day they used to wait to bury people until late in the season until the ground would be unfrozen.
Oh.
So you'd be having your services about the time that the service berry would actually be blooming.
Okay, that is way, I thought more about like table service or like, you know. Like
well, with common names, you really never know where it's going to go, and sometimes it's bad to ask. But that's one of the reasons I've heard, that they would start having the services for people that had died over the winter in May, late April and early May.
Okay, so that's a kind of a morbid common name right there.
Yep, so I stick with shadbush. Shadbush is a name that's associated with the running of the American shad, which is a fish, an anadromous fish that comes in, and it's part of its life cycle. So they would see that the shadbush would be arriving, I think, as it came into fruit.
Nice.
I'm looking at this sassafras tree. They're all just coming into bloom all around the island. And you can identify them from a distance. You can really see this like greenish yellow golden color, which is really striking when we have a blue sky day like today.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous right now. And it sets a nice contrast from all the red that we've been seeing lately in the flowers.
But I wanted to take a closer look at the flowers, and I actually can't reach them.
Uh-oh, do you need some assistance? Uh-oh.
Most of the trees here are a little older, so they're getting taller.
Tall people powers, activate!
Yeah. I always make use of people when they come by, and they happen to be taller. This is really cool because you can see where each bud has opened at the end of each twig. These are the bud scales peeled back. And inside each bud, there's a whole package filled with fresh leaves, which are in the center here. And then we've got the blossoms. And this is another interesting tree. Most trees are either male or female, and some of them have both. And this looks like a female tree. So it's got the pistil in the center, and it doesn't have the pollen-filled anthers. It just has vestigial anther-like structures. So I just wrote a blog article on the sassafras, and if you wanted to read more about it, it's a great place to check it out on our NCF Science blog.
Very cool. Well, we'll let this guy get back up there and just enjoy taking in the colors of spring out at Squam Farm.